this be one of the best moments of your life. You're listening to the Business Mirror podcast for a broader look on business with Senior Editor Dennis Estopase.
Welcome to the Business Mirror BM Broader Look podcast. For today's podcast, we talk to Business Mirror reporter Cai Ordinario, who wrote the Broader Look story titled Family, Faith, Fortify Filipinos Against Pandemic and Perfidy, which was published on December 30, 2020. For the text version online, please go to www.businessmirror.com.ph and search for Broader Look. For the print edition, please read the Business Mirror newspaper. Let's get on with the story. Good day, Cai. For our listeners' information, please tell us how long have you been covering the macroeconomic beat and what's this beat all about?
Hello. I have been covering the macroeconomy for 15 years. The primary focus of this beat is the National Economic and Development Authority, the country's socio-economic planning agency, as well as its attached agencies such as the Philippine Statistics Authority, the POPCOM, the Philippine Institute for Development Studies. PIDS, of course, is the government's think tank. In terms of topic, macroeconomic stories focus on the overall state or health of the economy, statistics, researches done by local and international think tanks, and the activities of multilaterals such as the Asian Development Bank, the World Bank, and among others.
So you focus more on gross domestic product, economic issues. Those are the major topics that you cover.
Yes.
Okay, for this story titled Family, Faith, Fortify Filipinos Against Pandemic Perfidy, we hope to present what keeps Filipinos resilient, right?
Yes.
And you zoom in on Arlene, a mother of two. How is Arlene situated in that story?
Three of Arlene's family and immediate family members, her husband, mother, and eldest son, contracted COVID-19. So her husband was asymptomatic. Her mother showed all the symptoms of the virus, while her son contracted severe COVID-19. So her husband was placed in a quarantine facility for 3 months. Her mother, who lives in Quezon City, had to be monitored round the clock by a cousin who's working as a nurse. Their family decided against confining her mother to prevent her from getting worse. Her son, meanwhile, kept his entire ordeal from his mother. Arlene only learned of his condition after he survived COVID-19. So I think that story just the background of Arlene tells the same story of the thousands of families who experienced a loved one getting sick.
How old is Arlene?
She's in her early 40s.
Early 40s. She's living in
Manila.
We can say that she presents a microcosm of a family under pandemic.
Yes, during the pandemic. So she's a representative.
So the infections or illness that befell her, three of her loved ones, happened in a course of how many months or weeks?
Yung husband niya got sick. Well, not really. Kasi random check random check yun ng office.
Mm-hmm.
So it happened around September. Tapos yung mother niya, sumunod din parang mga after that. Hindi siya masyadong specific about the dates, but that was her, to her mind, yun yung naging order. Tas with the sickness of her son, hindi niya alam kung kailan nangyari. She only learned about his condition, yung ordeal ng anak niya, after nag-survive. Yeah. So, hindi siya aware at all kung kailan, saan, or
but we can say that it happened within a short period
span of 3 months.
3 months.
So during the time that her husband was confined in a quarantine facility, from September, that was from September until November, everything happened at that time.
And that's why you said Arlene's world fell apart.
Yeah, that's what she said, because she didn't know who she will go to first or attend to first. Her husband, her mother. Then after she learned about her son, then she also worried about the recovery, how her son is recovering from COVID-19.
And that's very sad for a mother.
Yes, of course.
So you also noted that Arlene ultimately was COVID-19's first victim in the family.
Mm-hmm.
So how so was that?
Yeah, she was the first victim of the pandemic in her family because she lost her job as early as March. So if you can recall, that was the time when the government decided to impose a lockdown to prevent the spread of COVID-19. So apart from her losing her job, the burden of worrying about family members who contracted the virus made her depressed. On top of that, she said no help from the government came. Their entire community, the community that she belongs to in Manila, did not receive any ayuda or from the government. They just aid. They just kept their DSWD stubs that made them eligible for the assistance, but it never materialized into cash.
And so Arlene is also symbolizes the joblessness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how does the government paint? How did government paint the joblessness during that time?
Mm-mm. The National Economic and Development Authority estimated that a total of 4.5 million Filipinos became jobless in the whole of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So this was based on the data released by the PSA, the Philippine Statistics Authority, that there were 3.81 million Filipinos unemployed in October.
Mm-hmm.
So the World Bank also said a large share of the breadwinners remained jobless even after the government started easing community quarantines. So because of this, the World Bank said this could increase poverty to around 22.6% in 2020. This was based on the 22.6% estimate of the World Bank is based on their own metric of an income of $3.2 per day.
That's the poverty line.
Poverty line, yes, for lower middle income countries like the Philippines.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the World Bank said a lot of breadwinners remain jobless.
Yeah. That is the main reason for their expectation that there would be an increase in poverty.
And without jobs, people wouldn't have money to spend, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, what would happen to the consumption?
Yeah, we already saw that in the third and second quarter economic performance when household final consumption expenditure contracted 9.3% and 15.3% respectively. So, of course, second quarter was worse than the third, no? Mm-hmm. But definitely, the third quarter data showed that even people of means, no, those who were
rich.
Yeah, rich, no?
Like you.
No, not like me. Probably like you. So they weren't buying the valuables like heirloom jewelry and
they weren't buying.
Yeah, they weren't buying because the valuables index under consumption contracted 53.2%.
That's big.
Yes, very big. It was actually it posted actually the largest decline in that part of the GDP.
So what is household final consumption expenditure? Can you explain that?
Household final consumption expenditure is basically household spending.
Okay.
Yes.
It measures the
the consumption of families or private individuals. Yes, what they buy for luxury or for basic needs.
So it meant that even rich Filipinos were saving or not spending much.
They're basically just holding on to whatever cash they had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even if during the third quarter there was an easing of mobility.
Restrictions.
Mobility.
Yes.
So, but that's one measure. The another measure is the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, right?
Yes. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or the central banks, they had a consumer expectation survey which showed that Filipinos were less optimistic in the fourth quarter of the year.
Which is
it was better
October to December, right?
Yes, that's
okay.
October to December. So it improved, but it's still very pessimistic at negative 47.9%.
From
in the fourth quarter, from negative 54.5% in the third quarter.
So the third quarter, that means majority of the people
more than half.
Yes. Yeah, more than half
were very pessimistic about consuming.
Even if that quarter is already considered the holiday season.
Yes.
How did the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas view the data?
Well, the BSP said the less pessimistic view was mainly because of expectations that there will be more jobs available that could provide a stable and higher source of income for more people. So it also contributed. It also attributed this less pessimistic view to other successful programs such as the Social Amelioration Program, which is the Ayuda or the help provided by the government to a lot of Filipinos, and then projects or programs like the Plant of the Department of Agriculture, which helped in a way stabilize prices. So these kinds of projects were viewed positively and contributed to the less pessimistic views of the Filipinos. Of course, the less stringent quarantine restrictions toward the end of the year also improved Filipinos' outlook.
Yeah, but there's also the bonuses.
Yes, of course. Yes, the 13th month pay, which is basically the bonus for many Filipinos.
And still, they were pessimistic. Many people remain pessimistic. So, you talked to Ana Marie Caraos of the John Carroll Institute on Church and Social Issues. And she gave you a view of the year.
For Dr. Caraos, she said 2020 really highlighted the problems in the social protection system. Social protection system, healthcare system, and housing. She said, with regard to the social protection system, this could be traced to the lack of an updated database of the poor and vulnerable in the country. Kasi the government uses the National Housing Targeting System, the NHTS, which to deliver the Pantawid ng Pamilya Pilipino program, which is the 4Ps or the Conditional Cash Transfer program of the government. But that database is not as reliable as seen by the issues with leakages And that's why there are people like Arlene who were not covered by, who did not receive the social amelioration program or was not a recipient of the SAP, even if she was qualified.
No, like the indigenous people you cited in the story.
Yes. For the primary healthcare, for healthcare, Dr. Caros highlighted that the quality of primary healthcare in the Philippines remained poor. No, I think we saw that in another BL, broader look piece that we did earlier last year, around April. So, she alluded to those issues that were mentioned before. And then with regard to housing, as you know, a lot of people in the cities where COVID has been so prevalent, also the locations of very cramped housing facilities. So this prevented them from practicing social distancing, that eventually led to more people getting infected with the virus.
Yeah, you cited the housing is an issue during the last year.
Yes. Well, the POPCOM, si Dr. Perez, the executive director of POPCOM.
Population Commission.
Yes, the Population Commission, the Commission on Population and Development, cited data from the Philippine Statistics Authority, which estimated that 3.785 million Filipinos, or nearly a third of the population of Metro Manila, lived in less than 20 square meter homes. So the size of these homes adds to the fact that 4 or 5 family members have to share that small space. So it's difficult, very difficult, for them to practice social distancing.
And that makes it also a question of how did government deliver the ayuda?
Yes.
Ed Tadem was also cited as a source in your story, but he noted that, in my view, there were already poor Filipinos before the lockdown or before the pandemic. So can you cite?
Yes. Yeah. Si Sir Ed said that talagang the inequality in the Philippines has always been there, and with this pandemic, lalo lang na highlight. So he said 40% in terms of I mean, one way to see the inequality during the pandemic is that 40% of the labor force has resorted to taking on part-time work, while 30.7% of Filipinos experienced hunger last year. So these are the tangible
Elements.
concrete, the tangible elements of that inequality. Also, many micro, small, and medium-scale industries have also decided to close. In their study, many communities experienced the lack of ayuda. Example is the people from Baisa Homeowners Association, and then also the indigenous peoples in Porac, Pampanga. They did receive ayuda, but it was not enough. So for the indigenous peoples in Porac, Pampanga, they received food packages only good for 20 families. But there were 250 families in that area. So imagine that they just decided to pull together what they received and shared it with everybody, because it's very impossible to just allow 20 people to get ayuda or to get the help.
Which
And,
is interesting. Which is interesting because it's kind of the parable of the multiplication of bread.
yes.
Yes. In the to be religious about it.
Religious about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, they had photos in a press conference of how the Aita community shared the ayuda with everybody, and they cooked the food together so that everybody will be able to partake of whatever it is that they received.
Yeah. But still, you noted in your story that Filipinos remain a happy people.
Yes, that's true. Based on the Asian Development Bank's report, the Philippines is part of the top 10 happiest among developing economies in the region. So according to former National Statistical Coordination Board Secretary General Romulo Virola, Filipinos' happiness comes from from a lot of sources: community participation and volunteer work, cultural activities, education, family, health, income and financial security, leisure and sports, religion, and many others.
Mm-hmm. And what's the source of that happiness?
Well, the experts believe that family is the primary source of happiness of Filipinos. So the University of the Philippines Manila Department of Behavioral Sciences Assistant Professor Andrea Martinez said this is because it stems from something that is intrinsic in the Filipino value system, the sense of kapwa or shared identity. So she said material wealth is only secondary to Filipinos' happiness, and that family is the driving force behind the success of every Pinoy.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Westerners, she said, who are individualists, Filipinos are collectivists. And this defines how we respond to our challenges in life.
Yeah, like indigenous people in Porac, they considered it. They consider the whole community as their family.
Yes.
That's right. Maybe that's why they shared what little they accepted or received from the government.
Yes. Even the community in Baisa,
Mm-hmm.
the homeowners association, of course they received ayuda from the government, but in their community there were a lot of renters.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to dig into their pockets as an association, a homeowners association, and also gave help to the renters who were not qualified to receive any ayuda. So they, of course, they have that shared experience of not being able to go to work because there was no work.
Mm-hmm.
And they all had to stay home. So that was what the community, the homeowners association did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interestingly, you talked to Professor Andrea Martinez, and there's a good catchphrase she said that the family is happy pill. Yeah.
Yes. She said the family is Filipinos happy pill. No, in the context of the pandemic, for instance, this is what she said at quoting. In the context of the pandemic, for instance, the family plays a crucial role on how people can navigate the challenges and the stressors of probably their life. No? If the government will do any intervention, she said, it should be directed to the family unit.
And according to Maria Oplas, family needs come first.
Yes. Professor Oplas said, this is why Filipinos would go to great lengths just to provide and make their families happy and content. She said this has become evident in this pandemic when many Filipinos who lost their jobs turned to online selling or took on odd jobs just to get by.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of Filipinos who had to find other ways to earn just so they can provide for their family and continue receiving that or getting that happy pill in their life.
But there's a caveat according to Albert.
Yes. According to Dr. Jose Ramon Albert, family can also be a source of difficulty. This is especially evident when the term resilience, he said, is abused. There are times, he said, that politicians manage to use Filipinos' resilience for political gain.
Mm-hmm.
He said this highlights the need for Filipinos to hone their analytical thinking, which, quote unquote, which, open quote, can help harness family relations or cope with difficulties caused by family, close quote.
Mm-hmm.
He also said that, and I quote, that hope should be born from actions that will make us better persons tomorrow, and that tomorrow starts today.
Of course, a family lacking material wherewithal to meet their basic needs would slide to unhappiness.
Yes, definitely. This is why Dr. Alvin Ang of the Ateneo Center for Economic Research and Development said the government still needs to exert more effort in boosting confidence on the economy. This, he said, is the only way for the economy to recover and for it to be able to provide jobs to millions of Filipinos who became jobless last year.
Mm-hmm.
So he added that the government can do this by spending. His quote was spend.
Mm-hmm.
And also for the government to work with the private sector.
Yeah.
So this can be done, he said, through public-private partnerships, especially in undertaking infrastructure projects. That would be the primary example of that partnership.
Still, there's the virus.
Yes. That's why Professor Opla said the government still needs to secure vaccines and gradually but safely lift quarantine restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
So doing, the government will be able to allow more businesses to reopen and employees to go back to work.
Mm-hmm.
She said this may be too simple a solution, but many people can relate to this. Being able to provide for their families is something that will make them happy.
Yeah,
So,
source of pride for many Filipinos.
Definitely. She said, and I would like to quote her, now more than any time before, I quote from the story, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Now more than any time before, Opla said she's happier just to see that they have survived as a family. They don't have to be filthy rich as long as they are still getting the basics.
She's happy.
Yes.
So we tackled the family. Where's the faith that we said also fortifies the Filipino against the pandemic?
Yeah. Basically, we have to go back to Arlene. For Arlene, it's really her faith that makes her hopeful about her situation. There are many worries on her mind, like her Meralco and other utility bills, her rent and other loans they took out just to survive 2020. But she said God gave her a patient landlord, a kind neighbor, and family who offered to help them in these trying times. So she still believes. She even believes her new job is a blessing from God. She simply said that nothing is impossible with God.
And with that, we can say that 2020 has been a very challenging year.
Yes.
To have, or is that an understatement? But Filipinos, like you and I, and many of compatriots, still find happiness, whatever, in their faith, in their material being, but in their family.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Kai, for walking us through your very informative story. Very
Thank you.
inspiring. This is Dennis Estopase, and hopefully we gave a good view of the broader look of the Business Mirror.
Thank you for listening to the Business Mirror podcast. For a broader look on business, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Business Mirror. Until next time.